it in a...
I don't doubt that you respect the law, but you're going to be asked, along with 8 other colleagues, if you get on the court, to render a decision as to whether or not the Second Amendment is a fundamental right shared by the American people. There is no subjective judgment there.
The issue will be controlled by the court's analysis of that question in the case, fundamental as defined by incorporation, likely will be looked at by the court in a case that challenges a state regulation. I'm sorry. At that point, I would presume that the court will look at its older precedent in the way it did in Heller, consider whether it controls the issue or not. It will decide, even if it controls it, whether it should be revisited under the doctrine of stare decisis. It could decide it doesn't control, and that would be its decision. It could decide it does control, but it should revisit it. In revisiting it, it will look at a variety of different factors. Among them, have there been changes in related areas of law that would counsel questioning this? As I've indicated, there was a lot of law after the older cases on incorporation. I suspect, but I don't know because I can't prejudge the issue, that the court will consider that with all of the other arguments that the parties will make.
Well, maybe I've got it wrong then. Maybe I'm off base here. Maybe, you've got the 7th Circuit talking about the Heller case did not decide the issue of whether it should be incorporated to the states because it's only dealt with the District of Columbia. You've got the 9th Circuit, and I never thought I'd live to hear myself say this. Look at the 9th Circuit. They have a pretty good rationale as to why the Second Amendment should be considered a fundamental right. And they talked about the long-standing relationship of the Englishman, and they should have put woman, at least in South Carolina, that would have applied, to gun ownership. They talked about it was this right to bear arms that led to our independence. It was this right to bear arms that put down a rebellion in this country. And they talked about who we are as a people and our history as a people. And Judge, that's why the Supreme Court matters. I do believe at the end of the day, you're not going to find a law book that tells you whether or not a fundamental right exists vis-a-vis the Second Amendment, that you're going to have to rely upon your view of America, who we are, how far we've come and where we're going to go, and our relationship to gun ownership. That's why these choices are so important. And here's what I'll say about you. And you may not agree with that, but I believe that's what you're going to do. And I believe that's what every other justice is going to do. And here's what I will say about you. I don't know how you're going to come out on that case. Because I think fundamentally, Judge, you're able, after all these years of being a judge, to embrace a right that you may not want for yourself. To allow others to do things that are not comfortable to you, but for the group, they're necessary. That is my hope for you. That's what makes you, to me, more acceptable as a judge and not an activist, because an activist would be a judge who would be chomping at the bit to use this wonderful opportunity to change America through the Supreme Court by taking their view of life and imposing it on the rest of us. I think and believe, based on what I know about you so far, that you're broad-minded enough to understand that America is bigger than the Bronx, it's bigger than South Carolina. Now, during your time as an advocate, do you understand identity politics? What is identity politics?
Politics based simply on a person's characteristics, generally referred to either race or ethnicity or gender, religion, It is politics based on...
Do you embrace identity politics personally?
Personally, I don't, as a judge, in any way embrace it with respect to judging. As a person, I do believe that certain groups have and should express their views on whatever social issues may be out there. But as I understand the word identity politics, it's usually denigrated because it suggests that individuals are not considering what's best for America.
Do you think
that's and that I don't believe in. I think that whatever a group advocates, obviously it advocates on behalf of its interests and what the group thinks it needs, but I would never endorse a group advocating something that was contrary to some basic constitutional right as it was known at the time, although people advocate changes in the law all the time.
Do you believe that your speeches properly read embrace identity politics?
I think my speeches embrace the concept that I just described, which is groups you have interests that you should seek to promote. What you're doing is important in helping the community develop. Participate in the process of your community, participate in the process of helping to change the conditions you live in. I don't describe it as identity politics because it's not that I'm advocating the groups do something illegal.
Well, Judge, to be honest,